And now it's time for Southern California's sports fishing voice. Let's talk hookup. For the next 2 hours, join Pete Gray, Rock Cod Rick Mexa, Corey Sandin, and this week's special expert guest for fishing information, new techniques to catch more fish, and the most current scoop on what's happening in the water. Let's Talk Hookup is sponsored in part by Royal Polaris, the world's finest long-range sports fisher. By Ford, the official truck of Let's Talk Hookup, and Shimano Rods and Reels. Fish with the best. Shimano. Get ready for the fastest 2 hours on radio with the hosts of Let's Talk Hookup, Pete Gray, Rock Cod Rick Mexa, and Corey Sandin.
Good morning, anglers, and welcome to Let's Talk Hookup. I'm Pete Gray with Corey Sandin. We're here in the world headquarters of Let's Talk Hookup here right next to the San Diego Landings in Point Loma. And boy, do we have a great show for you today. Right here, Mr. Ken Franke from Sport Fishing Association of California. Eric Cord, who is the regional manager of assistant chief of the Marine Enforcement right here. You can see he's lawed up there. He's got all his gear on. And on the phone with us, the regional manager of Marine Resources is Craig Shuman. That's going to be a great show. I want to thank these guys from Department of Fish and Wildlife being with us here today, and it's going to be a great show. Stay tuned. Southern California's Sport Fishing Voices, Let's Talk Hookup, on the Let's Talk Hookup app and the Sports Grid Radio Network.
For quality, the Islander out of Fisherman's Landing is a favorite among anglers. But Islander Charters is much more than great fishing. The quality of the captains and crew, as well as the great meals and service, speak for themselves. Comfortable staterooms, a super clean and well taken care of boat are just a few of the reasons the Islander is so popular. The Islander specializes in 1.5 to 5 day fishing. Experience the Islander difference. Visit IslanderSportFishing.com.
It's time for the Power Pro 30-second seminar. I like catching big fish, and I like smaller reels, too. How do I make sure that I have the capacity to land the big one? I fill my reels with Power Pro Max Quattro. It's 25% thinner than standard Power Pro, so you get more line on that small reel. Power Pro has a complete series of highly effective lines, including the brand new Power Pro Depth Hunter Offshore, with different colors every 100 feet. Perfect for flatfall fishing. Want to learn more? Check PowerPro.com.
The Make It Ford Summer Sales Event is on. Visit your San Diego County Ford dealers now and make it your best summer yet. Amazing offers and great selection of the best-selling trucks in America for 47 years. Ford F-Series, featuring gas, hybrid, or all-electric. These are deals you've been waiting for. So don't wait. Make it Ford. Make it yours. Make it now. Only at your San Diego County Ford dealers. They'll be glad to hook you up.
All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup, and it's going to be a really fun show today, Pete. I don't know how you lined all this up today, but
yeah,
here goes Ken Franke.
Yeah, thanks to Ken.
Morning, guys.
Ken. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Excited to be here.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's pretty amazing here that you were able to put all this together. And we from Santa Barbara, live from Santa Barbara, I believe we have Craig Shuman on the line. Good morning, Craig.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Hey, doing fantastic. Thank you for joining us. And Craig, describe what your job is with the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
How much time do you got? So I'm the Marine Region Manager, and within Marine Region, we oversee the science and policy for all of marine fisheries off of California, marine protected areas. We're looking at the offshore wind terminals that are going in. So we do it all. That's all in my shop here under Fish and Wildlife.
Wow, that's a big job. And you've been a friend of fishermen for a long time, friend of Let's Talk Hookup, been with us for a long time. But we also have Eric Cord with us. And describe your job, Eric, which is a big one here in the southern region.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Pleasure being here. Thanks for having me in. So I am the Assistant Chief for Marine Enforcement. I supervise all the patrol boats out of California. We're the guys that go around, at sea and board commercial fishing boats and sport fishing boats and work a lot out at the Channel Islands. And we have about 50 officers dedicated to marine enforcement, but we also have local coastal officers that work the coastline and the smaller skiffs. That I don't directly supervise them, but we work with the coastal wardens as well. But our enforcement district is specifically just pretty much the boat guys, and then we also have some lieutenant specialists that that do a little more lengthy investigations and whatnot.
Now, you're not one of the guys standing on the cliffs watching through gyro binoculars. That's not your group, right?
We can be.
You can be.
We do occasionally, take time out for some special investigations. We had a special investigation out at Santa Barbara Island looking for a particular bad guy last year, and we were the guys with the binos looking at a particular fisherman that had an interest in the MPA out there. So
gotcha.
So occasionally we do some covert stuff, but mostly it'll be flying the flag and being on the patrol boats, and you'll see us that way.
Yeah, and how many of the big patrol boats are there in the southern region here?
There are 7 patrol boats.
There are.
We have some smaller boats up in Crescent City, Eureka, and then we have the bigger boats. One out of Fort Bragg, another big boat, the Patrol Boat Marlin, out of San Francisco, and then we have another one out of Half Moon Bay, our brand new boat, which I'll talk about later, the Patrol Boat Barracuda that we just purchased. That's out of Half Moon Bay. That replaced an older boat, the Steelhead. Then we have the patrol boat out of Morro Bay, the Bluefin. And then in Ventura, it's the Swordfish. LA is the Coho, and the most furthest south boat is going to be the Thresher out of Dana Point. And that was the boat I was on for 23 years.
Wow, 23 years.
Well, I was on a patrol boat for 23 years before I promoted. The Thresher, probably 21 years.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And the majority of your job is commercial fishermen or recreational fishermen, or combination?
Anything on the ocean, combination of both. When we're out there, we'll board whoever is out there. Sometimes we'll on particular times of year we'll focus on a commercial fishery. Sometimes we'll focus a little bit more on the recreational, depending on what the fishing bite is doing, and all of our officers like to look at the fish reports, and we kind of follow the fish, as my old colleague used to say, is follow the fish, and that usually we'll run into the people that are fishing that we need to talk to.
That's cool. And Ken, how do you integrate with these two gentlemen?
Daily,
yeah.
I got to tell you honestly, Pete, between Craig and Eric, I am constantly on the phone with them, getting clarification on regulations, and they're really good about when the public calls and is confused about something. Oh, we can square that away. They'll edit their website, or Eric and his team, if they see a pattern out in the ocean, they'll go, hey, you need to go and convey to everybody they ought to be, looking out for this, that, and the other. Like, we're about to go to a depth change here.
Right.
And I was talking with the warden about it yesterday, so as a result, we sent out a notice yesterday to everybody in the fleet, just reminding them that there's going to be a depth change on October 1st. But it's just that back and forth communication, and it really works well. And on Craig's side, he's on the policy side. That's our rules. So having input and participation at his level and working with the Fish and Game Commission, a lot of the results of their work is why we all get to enjoy fishing.
That's cool. Yeah. So Craig Shuman, the depth change, what is Ken referring to, please?
So this is part of the new groundfish regulations that were adopted last year by the Fish and Game Commission. So we will be going to offshore of 50 fathoms first.
Okay.
And that'll give us access back to that deeper water, those areas in the Cowcod Conservation Area that were opened up. So we'll be back fishing that deep water again.
That's October 1st. So that means off limits will be inshore of that?
Inshore 50 will be off limits for groundfish.
Until December 31st?
Until next year. Until next April.
So that's going to carry us through the 31st, and then we have our rockfish closer January 1st through the end of March. And the general opener will be April 1.
April 1, yeah. And that general opener opens all waters?
Yes, it will open all waters for Southern California, all depths for all fish, and then our other management areas have it's going to be the greater than 50 fathoms.
So, Pete, one thing that's really important for the listeners, what you're hearing in these changes and the reason behind them is the department has worked really hard to get the maximum opportunity for all of us to go fishing.
Yeah.
And so they carefully look at catch limits and different species of fish. Some are federally managed, some are state managed, some are both. And they're trying to do everything they can to maximize the amount of time we all get to go out and enjoy fishing. So I always encourage people, pay attention to the regulations, but understand behind the scenes they're doing their best to make sure that we can go do what we want to do.
Sure.
And that's a really good point. One of the common complaints that we hear from the general public is these darn regulations are so confusing. Why do they have to be so confusing? And as Ken pointed out, it's sort of a conglomeration of our fishery managers are trying to keep the fish around. We're also coming up with rules that are going to accomplish that goal, but also give you the fishermen the maximum opportunity, the most opportunities that they can. And so we kind of have this what it's looking now where we have this flip flopping of the depth constraints, and it can be a little. It's not like the traditional closed season, open season. This is your limit. It's a little bit different than how we used to manage things, but we've been successful with it for the most part so far, and we do. The regulations, you have to read them a little bit more. You got to know a little bit more before you go. But as Ken pointed out, it's given people the most opportunities that we can give them.
And truly, the easiest way to do it would be to just shut it down for 6 months. But and that would be the easiest way, right? Black and white. It's closed and then it's open. But to manage it the way that it is, it's a little difficult. Like you said, it's kind of confusing and difficult to understand at times for the angler. But it's open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what we hear from our representatives on the Ground Fish Advisory Subpanel at the Pacific Fishery Management Council, which is actually meeting this week, is time on the water. We hear over and over, we need time on the water. And so that's why we go shallow, deep to protect some of those constraining stocks, we call them. And in the South, that's copper rockfish right now. So giving those fish a break, going shallow, going deep, but keeping folks on the water throughout the year as much as we can.
And Craig, are any of those closures at those times for spawning purposes too? I mean, I always wondered that myself. Like spawning, or the viviparous, they're born live. Like, are they given birth at that point?
So the winter closure, that's primarily for that purpose. As we get later into the season, that's more just to give those fish a break and reduce overall catch, because we're fishing under federal catch limits. And we don't want to exceed those federal catch limits, because then we run into all sorts of problems.
Wow. So it seems to me maybe less confusing now that there's very descriptive depth limits than it was kind of before. It's like, well, you can't fish here, but you can fish here. Are you finding that, Eric?
I would agree with that, and I think probably the most important thing to for fishermen or fishers to realize is that this depth limit that you're looking at, it's actually a depth line. It's a fathom line, so it's not really by your sounder. It's so when we change the depths here in October, it's going to be seaward of the 50 fathom line, and that is a line that the feds have put out on in the Code of Federal Regulations. It's a line that hopefully all the fishermen can get in their plotters, and it's simply being on one side or the other. So you're not going by off your sounder. You need to be seaward of that line
of the 50 fathom or 300 foot line.
Yes, in order to catch rockfish.
So that includes Catalina, San Clemente Island, all the Channel Islands and such.
Correct.
All of the above.
Yes, those lines are along the mainland coast and all of our islands.
And all of the islands.
Banks, yeah.
So seaward of that line.
Yes.
So what happens if you're seaward of that line and it gets there? You come up on a high spot. That's still okay.
Still okay as long as you're seaward of that line, the line that's in the regulations.
The demarcation line.
Yeah, one thing, Pete, for the listeners, if they go to the Department of Fish and Wildlife website or the SAC website at californiasportfishing.org, halfway down on our website, if you click on Southern California regulations, it'll take you to the DFW site. But it's got the entire booklet for the regulations, but then they also have an interactive map where they can click on the area on the line, and it shows you right there exactly what the regulations are. are. So this should be pretty easy. The department's done a really good job on the education side. I sent out all that information yesterday to all the captains in our fleet, and that's what we're going by. And so I highly recommend anybody that's going to go out and go fishing on their own boat, make sure you got a good idea where you are.
Yeah, for sure. One thing we face here in San Diego area is fishing in Mexican waters, and of course, there's no restrictions down there on the catch other than limits and such like that. How do you guys enforce that, and what are the rules? Because that seems to be a little bit confusing, and even confusing for some of your guys too. Of you're coming back from Mexico, coming to Coronado Islands down south, and you have rockfish on the boat. What's necessary? If you're stopped on your way in by a Fish and Wildlife officer, what's necessary to show that officer?
That's good. Good question, Pete. So, I spent my whole career in San Diego and dealing with, the Mexico question or the fishers coming back from Mexico. It's always, been a part of my career and having to deal with it. And one of the questions that we get on fish coming back from Mexico being imported by boat is how does the department have any authority of the fishing regulations in Mexico? And it's not per se that we're enforcing Mexican regulations. We're enforcing state regulations, but it's the regulation of importing fish into the state and basically bringing fish back. So in order for a fisher to be able to do that, you got to have one of three things. One, the fish need to be taken legally in Mexico. You got to have your licenses. You can't go over limit in Mexico or violate any laws down there. And then the fish cannot be expressly prohibited in the state of California. And the third thing is you have to have your importation for declaration. It's an easy form. It's on our website. If you go to your favorite search engine and look for importation of fish into California, or the declaration form, if you Google that per se, you're going to come right up to our link there, and it will put you in contact or give you a link. Easy download. Yeah. It's a form you can download. You can either print it. There's also a link there on our website where you can fill the form out online.
Oh, and can you do it on your app?
You can do it on your phone.
Okay.
Or you can go on the website and print out the forms and have them on your boat. That form is required at the time of entry into the state, which means technically state waters when you get offshore 3 miles.
So when you cross back over into the United States with rockfish on your boat from Mexico, you have to have that form filled out
into the state of California. So 3 miles out.
Yeah.
You need to have it there ready, filled out at or immediately prior to the time of entry. And you put, fill out the form, have your fish that you're bringing in. And if it's, let's say, let's go back to what the expressly prohibited means. So I'll give you an example. Broomtail grouper.
Black sea bass.
Well, black sea bass is different. There's actually a specific regulation that allows you to import black sea bass from Mexico. It's a specific provision and regulation so that you can bring one fish back from Mexico.
So wait a minute. So you can bring a black sea bass?
From Mexico, yes.
You can.
Yes.
Well,
wait a second here.
Well, I mean, like the Mexican law, like Eric Cord is mentioning, you can legally catch one in Mexico.
Yes.
But you legally...
it's a bit confusing.
It's not expressly... What was your term?
Well, it's the law says if it's not expressly prohibited, and black sea bass obviously you can't take here, but there is a specific provision in law that allows you to bring it back from Mexico.
One per angler.
One per angler. Now, broomtail grouper and gulf grouper, that is prohibited year-round in California. You cannot bring that back. So that would be a violation of California laws if you bring something back that's expressly prohibited. prohibited. Another example is short fish. There's no size limits in Mexico, but we have size limits here. Same with our fillet lengths. If you fillet your fish, you got to have the right fillet lengths.
And skin patches. So our fillet regulations apply if you're bringing that back. Okay.
So for those examples, those specific provisions against those, and you cannot bring that fish back into California unless it complies with California law. So
what about cowcod?
Cowcod, I'm gonna say no on that one.
Okay.
There's a little bit of
there's a gray area.
There's a little bit of a gray area, but if it's the litmus test is if it's prohibited year-round and the bag limit's 0, don't bring it back.
Yeah.
But I said, for Black Sea bass, there's a particular exception.
That's interesting. So, Craig, we are now fishing in waters that were previously prohibited, cowcod conservation zones, and when you go there, you're catching a lot of cowcod. Why are cowcod still prohibited?
So a bit of history, right? So cowcod were declared overfished. We shut down those huge areas 30-odd years ago. Stocks have been rebuilt ahead of schedule, which is a great thing.
Absolutely.
We still don't have a lot of information about cowcod, and we also don't know what level of directed take may result from retention allowances. So we're taking a slow approach. What we don't want to do is turn everyone loose, get out there, put that stock back in jeopardy, and have to shut those waters back down again. So this is the first year we're fishing deep water like that. We're going to get a lot of good information on the numbers of cowcod encountered, the numbers that were descended, the numbers that survived, and we'll use that information to move forward, and also looking towards a new stock assessment that's scheduled for 2027 through the federal council process.
Yeah, one thing, Pete, I'd like to add to that, we're absolutely, the fleet's in support of what Craig is talking about.
Sure.
We want incremental changes, and so this precautionary effort by the department to not just run and cut everybody loose, this is sound decision making that we really think is important, because we don't want to have a whole bunch of boats go out there, catch 30,000 cowcod, and all of a sudden now you got to shut down the whole state again.
Because when you open it up to recreational, you also open it up to commercial, right? That's kind of the
not necessarily.
No, really? Okay, not necessarily.
Yeah, different regulations for commercial.
Okay, that's good.
A lot going on, Pete.
Yeah, a lot going on. We have a lot of show left for you here. As you can hear, what a fantastic opportunity to talk to two of the top guys in our enforcement, fish and wildlife. Just great to have them here with us.
And it's awesome, Pete, because they don't have to do this. The fact that Eric Corda's in here, and Craig Shuman on the phone, and just being a part of Let's Talk Hookup, being a part of the show this morning, is an honor. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it.
Absolutely.
Really cool having Ken Franke in here too, right?
And one correction, I just double checked. It's 2 per angler for Black Sea bass coming from Mexico.
Really? 2 per angler.
Just make sure you have that declaration form filled out and your Mexican license prior to coming in the state.
And so, and on that same note, on Black Sea bass, I am going to say one personal note.
Yeah.
Don't kill the big ones, man. Those things are no good to eat, and they're ancient. They're like 60, 70 years old, and they're the breeders. They're the things that keep the stock well. So the best ones to eat are the small ones, the sub 20, 30 pounders. So please let the big ones go.
And they're a part of the ecosystem that, you look at hawks and eagles, and you look at coyotes or whatever that might manage on their own the ecosystem. That's what they are, man. They're a part of the ecosystem.
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you can hear we can have a great show here, Corey.
A lot of fun ahead of us for the next 2 hours. Like we said, having Eric Cord in here and Craig Shuman on the phone and Ken Franke in studio and in the world headquarters. And could they see outside where the XL
Yes, they can. For sure. Yeah, XL's in the background there. Yeah.
So if you want to join us today, I'm sure there's a lot of questions. People have their opinions, questions, whatever they want to bring to the table. 213-432-1090 is a telephone number. And or you can send us a text via the app. I already see a list of texts there that'll come to Pete and I. And it's a one-way deal, so you want to make sure you leave your name and telephone number on that on the texting. And you can go to the app, which is a super easy free download, and right there it says text the show. And we're giving away a really cool thing at the end of the show, and it's an awesome sponsor, and it's just a really cool thing to have. $300 gift certificate to Costa. How about that, man? One lucky caller, texter, Eric Cord, was checking out the coin right there earlier, and
the challenge coin.
We'll have him flip the challenge coin, and whether our $300 gift certificate is going to a caller or a texter at the end of the show.
Yeah, you get to have a pair of sunglasses. You can get some Costa gear, shirts,
and killer sun shirts.
Great sun shirts. Yeah,
awesome stuff. So you want to join us again? The telephone number 213-432-1090, or you can text us via the app. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Let's Talk Hookup on the Let's Talk Hookup app and the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Everyone has their go-to fishing spot. My spot is Kingfisher Charters in Sitka, Alaska. Rock Cod Rick here to say if you're looking for the ultimate Alaska experience and the best value in Alaska, it's Kingfisher Charters. Owner Seth Bone and his crew consistently deliver deluxe accommodations, the finest food, world-class fish processing, and top-of-the-line fishing experience. We've literally sent hundreds of our listeners to Kingfisher, and they all can't wait to go back. Most Alaska resorts make big promises, and they don't deliver, or they'll nickel and dime you to drive up the cost, but not Kingfisher. Everything is included. Your license, fish processing, super deluxe accommodations, amazing food, airport transfers, your gear. Literally all you need to bring is your layer clothing, and Kingfisher covers the rest. They also have the finest boats and charter captains in Sitka, all for the ultimate value. Take it from me. Book your trip to Kingfisher Charters and you'll thank me. Kingfisher Charters, 800-727-6136, or check kingfishercharters.com.
Offshore fishing is on. Hi, this is Doug Kern from Fisherman's Landing Tackle, the saltwater tackle professionals. For bluefin, tuna, and yellowtail, nothing beats the Shimano Talica, the pinnacle of lever-drag 2-speed reels. Shimano's Speedmaster 2 is also an extremely durable, high-performance lever-drag reel for the more budget-minded angler. Both the Talica and Speedmaster 2 feature Shimano's Hagani body to prevent misalignment of moving parts under the heaviest of loads. For all your Shimano, visit us at Fisherman's Landing Tackle at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego. The name that stands out among anglers is Fisherman's Landing, your top choice in local and long-range fishing. We offer the finest open party trips from 1 to 3 days, the best charter boats available, and of course, our world-renowned long-range fleet. Fisherman's Landing offers half-day trips on the Dolphin and full-day trips on the Liberty. Many trips can be easily booked online at fishermanslanding.com. I'll see you at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego.
Lobster season is here. It's time to gear up with the best in the business. Promar, based in SoCal. Promar knows lobster and makes everything you need to catch these tasty critters. The Promar guys are hardcore lobster fishermen and have designed the most successful hoop nets and accessories on the market, including the Ambush Series hoop net line, the original hoop net designed for SoCal lobster hooping. Visit Promar on Facebook or on the web at promarahi.com. The lighter the bite and the cleaner the water means one thing. Need a thinner leader for more natural presentations. That's where Seaguar Gold Label leader material shines. It's Seaguar's thinnest leader material yet. That means it's even less visible underwater and creates more natural presentations for better catch rates on leader-shy fish. With exceptional knot and tinsel strength, this advanced leader material is now available from 2-pound test of fishing trout in the Sierra to 80-pound test for big yellowfin in Guadalupe. Get Seaguar Gold Label at your favorite tackle dealer or learn more at seaguar.com.
Whether you're boating, floating, paddling, fishing, or just chilling, remember a good day on the water always starts with everyone wearing life jackets. Save the ones you love. Life jackets save lives. A message from California State Parks Division of Boating and Waterways.
All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup, and man, an exciting show, and again, having Eric Cord, and Craig Shuman, Ken Franke involved, and you want to give us a call, 213-432-1090?
Yeah, JP's standing by for us.
There's an open line for you waiting right there.
Open line. Craig Shuman's on the line with us from Santa Barbara. You can see I have on the Facebook and YouTube Live, I have the shot of the outside. There goes the XL pulling away probably to the fuel dock. But pretty quiet overall at the San Diego landings this morning. We'll come back in the studio here, and you can see Eric's ready. You're ready to go to work this morning.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm in uniform. Yeah. And working on a Saturday, no less.
Yeah, working on Saturday.
I used to always work weekends, but since I promoted, they give me weekends off now. But.
So you're the second in line in the wardens.
I work for the Chief of Patrol. Yes.
Wow. Well, yeah. And who's the Chief of Patrol? I think we've talked to him before.
Yeah. So recently our former Chief Dave Best, he retired last year.
Talked to before.
Our new Chief, Chief Nathaniel Arnold. He was a deputy chief for a long time. Really great guy to work for. He's very supportive of enforcement and our constituents, and he's always trying to listen to both sides of any conversation or any issue. So really good guy to work for.
And you guys are trained peace officers, right?
Yeah, full peace officers. We have a full post academy. It's a 6-month academy where we learn. We're trained in all the traditional police topics and training and tactics, but we also have our specific fish and game topics and training that we have to cover. So our academy is a little bit longer than most traditional peace officer academies. But that's up in the Chico area. Our academy up there, we have about 30 to 50 officers per academy per year, depending on our attrition rate. But the academy folks do a really good job at training those new officers coming into the field. And right now we're in a field training phase where we have about 50 new officers that are in the field that are partnered up with an existing, a more seasoned wildlife officer, where they kind of learn how to make contacts and do inspections, and really critical time post academy, because academy is it's a school, it's a closed environment, it's a classroom environment, and they go through scenarios and range training, but now you're at the phase where you're in the real world and you're making real contacts, and we need to make sure not only do the officers know how to do their job, but are they safe? Are they safe with themselves and the public? And so it's critical time. Most officers do pretty good. Occasionally we have some an officer or two that just for some reason can't make the tradition. It's pretty rare, the transition. It's pretty rare, but most of them do pretty good, and they're out training right now.
Now, I've heard you refer to it as officers, but from state to state, you're considered a warden. So in the state of California, is it warden or officer?
So, I mean,
good question. What's the difference?
So, a few years ago, our director changed the name of the department from Fish and Game to Fish and Wildlife, and we kind of went, our official title is Fish and Wildlife Officer. It's kind of a bit of a mouthful sometimes, but we call ourselves game wardens a lot as well. We like to refer to ourselves as game wardens,
which is what it really is.
Yeah,
right?
and either one is fine. Our official title is Wildlife Officers. But we consider ourselves game wardens as well.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing to be clear, I think most listeners know, I'm prior law enforcement. I used to get covered by fish and game wardens on hot stops on calls. So they're cops. Don't run a red light in front of a warden. But they're regarded just as an equivalent to any other law enforcement agency.
How about that?
All right. Well, hey, phones are packing up. Again, 213-432-1090. JP's standing by for us. Thanks, JP, for being there today. And I believe we're going south down to the Baja right now. Talk to our buddy Chris Moore from Smoky's Curing and Cantina Company. Buenos dias, Chris.
Morning, Chris.
Pedro, Corey, buenos dias. How we doing today, boys?
Better behave.
Excelente.
We got the officer in studio. You better be on your best behavior.
I hear that, man, and I'm sitting here behaving myself. I'll tell you that.
There you go.
So anyway, let's get right to it, guys. So another really productive week after that storm passed through last week of tuna fishing. Lots of tuna, limits on tuna for pretty much most of the boats. Not in the range that we were seeing last month. A lot of 20, 30s, a lot of 10s, and so I don't know if you know, Pedro and Corey, but today is the tuna shootout hosted by Palmas de Cortez.
Oh, okay.
So that's a big tournament. You can win a good amount of money and as well as a car. But here's the thing: it's going to be interesting to see what happens today because like I said, there's not a lot of poundage coming in. My prediction would be something like maybe if you caught like something in the 50, 55 pound range, you need to come and get that fish weighed because you only get to weigh one fish and you could be losing weight while you're out there on the water. But if it were me fishing, and obviously the guys on Vaquera doing this, I'd be out there fishing the kite today, and I think that's going to be the advantage that somebody gets today in that tournament. So, you never know with these tournaments. Somebody may get lucky and get something bigger, but it could be something in the 40-pound range, and you just never know with the tournament.
Chris, you could win a car for a 50-pounder, and if you have a chance, call us tomorrow and give us the results. That'd be kind of fun.
I will do that. I was planning on doing that. So also we saw a couple, not too many. We saw a couple wahoo this week, but the Van Wormers decided to combine the wahoo Gold Cup with the tuna shootout. So it's a 2-in-1 today. Huh? But with that being said, I think if I were in the tournament, I'd be targeting the tuna. I think that would be the best bet. So there's that. And then also, plenty of marlin still. The marlin fishing's really good. Blues, stripers, we've got sailfish. It should be an interesting day. Always a fun day when there's a tournament going on down here. So we'll see, and I'm obviously rooting for Vaquera. They're going to be giving it a go today, and I told them to stick with that kite, and they've got a bunch of calamari on board to try them and sardines, so it should. And I will give you an update on that. I for sure will, guys.
Fantastic. Of course, for chartering Vaquera, coming over to Smokies, the best food in the East Cape, and, of course, getting your fish processed at Smokies. What's the best way to get a hold of you, Chris?
You can email me at bosssmokedog@gmail with 2 G's, or get a hold of us at vaquerasportfishing.com. And it's starting to heat up down here, guys. The weather, is perfect today. We got a little cloud cover, and fishing should be good. We don't have anything really on the horizon regarding storms. We might get through this year pretty good, but October's going to be going off.
All right.
October's going to be going off.
Yeah, we'll be ready, man. I'll be there for sure.
I know. We're going to fish on the 14th, buddy.
Yeah.
We're going to fish on the 14th.
Thanks, Chris, and we'll get an update tomorrow on the tuna shootout. That's fun. Thanks a lot for the call.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
Appreciate that. Hey, phones are packing up. Let's jump into it, Corey.
Let's do it, Pete. How about John? John calling from Escondido. Good morning, John. Appreciate you joining us on Let's Talk Hookup.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. So my question, when you talked earlier about going into Mexico and bringing back into American waters, so like I go on an 8-day trip and I catch a leopard grouper. And I also catch a black sea bass. Are they the same? They count where I'm only allowed 2, 1 of each, or am I allowed 2 of each because they're different species?
Eric?
So the leopard groupers are not expressly prohibited in California, so you can bring those in.
But the broomtails are.
The broomtail and Gulf groupers are expressly prohibited. You cannot bring those in. So as long as you're following Mexican limits for the leopard grouper, you're okay to bring those in with the declaration.
Okay, and as far as black sea bass, you can bring 2 in.
2 per angler.
Per angler. And no matter what the length of the trip is.
It's 2 per angler per day.
That's interesting. And the Mexican limits allow a 3-day.
Correction.
Oh, no.
2 per trip.
2 per trip. Okay,
yes.
All right.
And for those that don't know, the leopard grouper are cabrilla, or what most anglers know as as cabrilla.
That's a cabrilla.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Which are delicious.
Oh. Bring it on.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, John, thanks a lot for the call this morning, and I have a great text here from John in Whittier. He says, good morning. Thank you for coming on the show and helping us understand your role. Every encounter I have had with your officers has been polite and professional, and I have always appreciated that. What's the possibility of bringing back printed recreational regulation books? Being on my phone is definitely not what I like to do when I'm on the water. It's also much easier to thumb through a book, as many of us like to do.
I'm going to let Craig take that answer.
Yeah, Craig.
So this is something we've been working on for quite some time. As you all know, we used to have printed reg books. With the state's desire to move to paperless to save resources, save trees, we stopped printing those several years ago. That's what's led to the development of that website that Ken referenced earlier. We're also actively working on a mobile application that will allow you to know what the fishing rules are, where you are in real time, even when you don't have cell service. What we encourage folks to do, if they don't know the regs, you can print certain sections. So we've got the PDF book available online. You can print certain sections, do your homework before you go. I don't expect we'll be going back to paper anytime soon.
Not in this state.
Yeah, one thing also from the end user standpoint, when they update regulations or do in-season adjustments to give us more opportunity, they can update them instantly then. So this is actually a huge benefit for the angler to be able to go paperless.
So what you're doing is you're basically telling John and us old guys, you better get with it to the new age, right?
There you go.
Yeah, because once it's in paper, it's in black and white, it's done.
Yeah, that's it.
But if the reg's going to benefit the sport fishermen.
Yep, and that's what the department does. They try to maximize opportunity. So if they see that there's an in-season opportunity, they're trying to give it to us.
Yes, please, and thank you.
Yeah, we win.
Yeah, for sure. Corey, you have a great text, huh?
I do, and it comes from Kathy in La Quinta, and says, "Good morning. I wanted to take a moment to thank the Department of Fish and Wildlife for an amazing opportunity to raise rainbow trout in my classroom. I am a third grade teacher in the Coachella Valley and have raised rainbow trout to release from egg to fry stage in my classroom with my students for the past 10 years, and it's an amazing, awesome program," she says.
That's so cool.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Kind of neat.
Hey, Pete, got a real quick question, because I know a lot of the listeners out there. Eric, as far as the skin patches versus whole fish, ground fish, could you explain the regulations on that so that everybody understands it, and the new descending device requirement?
Sure. So
important stuff.
So for rockfish, you got to have the whole skin attached, and that helps us with identification. There are some reg changes, proposed reg changes coming up for next year, where the other groundfish species.
When you say a whole skin patch, is that a 1-by-1?
The entire skin needs to be
all skin on the fish needs
on groundfish.
On rockfish or groundfish.
Yeah, right now it's rockfish, where the entire skin needs to be on one side of the fillet.
Wow.
And
I didn't know this.
So wait a minute. So if you're slabbing both sides, it's just one side?
Well, the fillet's only going to have.
Yeah, I mean, there's two fillets on a fish.
Yes.
Both of them have to have the full skin.
The full skin.
All skin.
For rockfish.
So you cannot remove skin on rockfish.
Correct, and that's for identification purposes.
So, and Eric, you can... Go ahead, Ken. You're going to say the same. Go ahead. You got it.
Craig?
I was going to say, when the crew members on a sport fishing boat fillets, you can actually lift off most of the skin. It's still attached.
Yeah.
It's just when you get home, you can pop it right off.
Okay, gotcha. Craig?
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, all right. You guys, great minds think alike, right?
And sheephead also have to have the entire skin.
Sheephead have to kill.
Which is crazy, because I always thought it was, like Pete said, the 1-inch square patch.
Yeah, good to know.
Yes.
But
when did that regulation take effect, or has that always been the case?
Rockfish has been that way for a while.
Oh, it has?
Yes.
So I've been... Okay, I'm glad I didn't
I'm wiping the sweat off my forehead.
Well, that's why we're all here. It's just
fill us in.
And same with halibut, too. Halibut has the entire skin. Yeah, and
all the skin.
I would look up those regs. It's very specific on how the fillet has to be for halibut. It's got to be that 16 3/4 inches, and the one side of the fish has to be attached at the end. The last third of the fillet has to be, I think it's the third. The last 2 inches of the fillet needs to be attached of that one side. So
okay, but the whole thing needs to be attached, but you could cut it up to that last 2 inches.
2 inches to split the fillet, that one fillet, and then the full skin attached. And also tuna, the 4 loins that you get out of the tuna, in addition to the belly and the collar that you have to have when you fillet those, the loins have to have the entire skin attached.
All for ID purposes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one question I get all the time: what happens when they get to the dock? Let's say somebody brings a private boat to a boat ramp, their fish are whole, they get into the parking lot and they're going to fillet the fish there. What are the regs? Where's their transition?
Great question.
Well, once they're brought ashore, then you can fillet it however you want.
There you go.
But if you're on the dock, you cannot do that.
Ashore.
Yeah, you want to get.
Yeah, what's the
definition
get on land?
Of a shore? Get on land.
Get on land.
You can't.
So you can't sit at your dock and you can't sit at your dock on the boat.
You're on the boat.
Because you're still on the.
You're on a pier
over the water.
Yes, if you're over the water.
And the same with tailing lobster. As we approach lobster season next Friday, we haven't ventured into lobster. You can't tail lobster while you're sitting on the boat at the dock.
You can't tail lobster until it's prepared for immediate consumption. Yes.
Ah, okay.
When you're ready to gobble down, you can then get rid of that head.
Okay, so technically, if you're at home and an officer you have Eric over for dinner, and he opens your refrigerator and you have tailed lobster in your freezer, you are in violation.
Pete, are you admitting to something there?
The last thing I want to do is give someone a ticket for a tailed lobster in their home, but technically that's the letter of the law.
That's the letter of the law. Interesting. Yes. Okay. Yes. Good stuff. but, I mean, as silly as that is, we're all laughing because it is kind of silly, but that's the law, right?
It's really important on the boat. You know, when we're boarding people out at sea, out of Catalina Island, a lot of people like to enjoy their lobster, right when they catch it maybe, or the next day, and you got to keep those lobsters whole up until you're ready to eat it, because if you're just sitting there with tails on your boat, that is a violation. You will get a citation, because the few bad folks that are out there that want to hide a short, that they think they can get away with it by taking the head off, because we don't have a legal measure or a legal standard to go by for the tails.
Right.
We have to measure the carapaces, the heads.
Right.
It's got to all be connected.
It's got to be connected. Yeah.
But you can cook a lobster on your boat.
Yes.
So if you go lobster fishing, do you have to keep the carapace while you're cooking it?
Yes. Don't get rid of it until
you're ready to eat. Until it's in your belly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Oh, we're having such a good time. We're going to be right back on Let's Talk Hookup. More with this, and we got calls, we got your text, and the fish report's coming up too when we return on Let's Talk Hookup app and the Sports Grid Radio Network.
The fish are biting and it's time to go. Hi, this is Ben, and you will see me at my dad's shop, Dana Landing in Mission Bay, or maybe in front of the shop on my kayak. It doesn't matter if you are out there on a kayak with me, on your boat, headed out on a sport boat. Dana Landing has everything you need. We call it the one-stop shop for a great day on the water, because it truly is. Food, bait, tackle, beverages, and more. Our tackle shop, headed by John, is certainly one of the best. For freshwater tackle, nothing beats East County Bait and Tackle. These guys have the best rods and reels and the hottest lures and live bait. Our newest shop is Lemon Grove Bait and Tackle, with a great stock of both fresh and saltwater tackle right in the heart of Lemon Grove. ECBT is at the end of the 67 freeway on Mapleview and Lakeside. Lemon Grove Bait and Tackle, 94 to Broadway in Lemon Grove, and Dana Landing is next to the Dana Lawn Tramp in Mission Bay. Check out DanaLanding.com for more details.
Hey, it's time to talk about great gear from Shimano. And, since Corey's here, you got to talk about Tranks, right? Your favorite reel. Is there ever been a bass-style reel or a level line reel created like a Tranks?
No, there hasn't. No, the power behind them, just the cranking power, everything about it. I mean, the 150, the newest line in the line, the 150 is my favorite for El Salton.
You really like that one, huh?
Yeah,
but you can catch a saltwater bass on the 150 too. That's the thing about Tranks. It's powerful.
The cranking power is unbelievable. I used the 500 for the lingcod fishing up at Queen Charlotte, Haida Gwaii.
Yeah, it's the Tranks 500, a great rockfish reel, because you don't have to worry about, you fill it full of Power Pro Max Quattro, and you don't have to worry about the level wind. You just drop and wind, and it has plenty of capacity there.
The other thing I did is I filled it with 65 Max Quattro.
Right, exactly. Yes. Yeah, that's the best. So check it out, the Tranks lineup of reels at your local Shimano dealer.
Hello, this is Captain Mike Totter from Searcher Sport Fishing. Alongside my colleague, Chef Josh Evans, and our dedicated team, we invite you to join us aboard the Searcher. Our fishing trips range from a day and a half to 8 days, available May through November, and include charter options. We're committed to upholding a legacy of top-notch customer service, delicious food, and a friendly and and talented crew. Book your fishing adventure online at searchofsportfishing.com or call Rachel at 619-226-2403. That's searchofsportfishing.com. We look forward to welcoming you aboard.
Give your boat the love it deserves and install a custom Sea Deck kit from Blue Seas Fabrication. Blue Seas is the West Coast's only certified Sea Deck fabricator and installer. Sea Deck upgrades the look and feel of any boat, old or new. Sea Deck non-skid decking adds comfort, convenience, safety, and value. Let the experts from Blue Seas Fabrication custom fit your deck, bridge, and interiors with stylish, durable, stain-resistant, and easy-to-clean Sea Deck. Check BlueSeasFabrication.com and enhance your fishing experience.
All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup, and it's so awesome having Eric Horton here and Craig Shuman.
Yeah, and thank both of you for taking the time to do this. I know you guys work really hard, and it's just a pleasure to get. I mean, we've already had such. I don't know about you, Corey. I've already learned two very important things. Number one, that I can bring a black sea bass back from Mexico. Number two is that I have to put the whole skin patch when I come back from a ground fish, and those are two super important things for people. And so, that being said, if you're coming back from Mexico with rockfish, that same skin patch applies.
Yeah, so our rules will apply for any fillet or skin patch regulations if you're bringing it into California.
Is ling cod considered a ground fish?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Hey, some great texts going on, some great phone calls. I have a great text here from Mark in Buena Park, and pretty interesting stuff. He says, great guys having it on the show. White sea bass limits, is there going to be any changes in the limits of that fish? And that, I think, would be a good one for Craig, huh?
Mm-hmm. We don't have any plans to change the limits at this point. We are looking at the stock of white sea bass. It's been fluctuating over time. The fishery management plan that the fishery is managed under is over 20 years old, so that's something on the work plan. And so as we start spooling that up, we'll start getting fishermen engaged in that and making sure we're communicating and transparent in the data we're collecting, the updates to the stock assessments, and then any potential regulation changes. But those would be quite down the road.
You know, it's so interesting, Craig. I have to ask, because my whole world is calico bass. I love calicos. And one of the regulations that came, the changes that came about 10 years ago, was the size limit and
to 14 inches.
And regulation, only 5 fish from 10. I thought it was the most beautiful thing ever. Our late Don Hansen, God rest his soul, thought it was going to be the worst thing ever for sport fishing. But then the last couple of years, we've seen some of the most incredible calico fishing we've seen for decades.
Yes.
And my question, Craig, how was that on the radar when it's like one of the least, I don't want to say respected fish, but it's kind of low on the totem pole as far, when you look at our state fisheries, right?
Yes.
Like, how was that on the radar?
Great question. So we have within Marine Region, different teams looking at different fish. So one of our teams focuses exclusively on state-managed finfish. So that's California halibut, white sea bass, our saltwater basses, the complex we call them. So that's calico bass, barred sand bass, and spotted bay bass. And it was about 10 years or so ago, we started seeing some declines, primarily in barred sand bass. Raised some concerns. So we went through a real extensive public process, and that's what resulted in that reduction in the overall bag limit and the increase in size. We've seen a great rebound of calicos. Guys are getting a lot bigger fish, guys and gals, getting bigger fish. The fishery's doing well. We still have some questions about the sand bass fishery, so kudos to Ken and his folks. We formed a work group, and we're starting to look at the data to try to figure out what is the status of that stock. If you look historically, there was a lot of fish out there. There's real big spawning aggregations that some folks might remember. We're not seeing those right now, so we're trying to get information from the fleet, those guys that have been fishing out there for 50 years, to try to inform some of our more recent scientific observations and figure out what, if anything, we need to do with barred sand bass right now.
Gotcha.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of complications. I just want to go back to white sea bass for just a second. And Craig and I have had this discussion before. Is the spawning patterns of white sea bass have changed quite a bit since those laws were developed 20 years ago, and it seems like they're more in the spawn when the limit's 3, allowing commercial guys to take an unlimited number of sea bass. How have you seen that impact the resource of the sea bass? Is it hurting it?
That's what we're starting to look at right now, is what is the status of the stock. Our oceans are changing, and so that's something we're seeing. We had that warm water blob, or the big warm water event in 2014, 2015. We're still reeling from that in Northern California. And so we're seeing things we haven't seen ever, or we haven't seen for a long time. So we're trying to tease out which of these trends are actual long-term trends, which of these are kind of one-time anomalies based on abnormal ocean conditions. But those are the types of things that our scientists are looking at.
Okay, good. Yeah, because, I mean, changing the limit from 1 to 3 for recreational anglers is not that big a deal. But when you change it to 3, correct me if I'm wrong, the commercial guys can take an unlimited number, right?
Correct.
Yeah, up to a certain poundage, I guess, or quota. No, there's no quota at all. And so when these sea bass are on their spawning aggregation, it's basically it's a major slaughter. I'm sure you've seen quite a deck load of sea bass in your patrol when you stop a commercial guy when they're biting.
It's the gillnet guys will get a little bit more. But I mean, I haven't seen massive loads.
Yeah.
It's for purse seiners. They're prohibited to be possessed on purse seine vessels, so they're not getting them. You see a lot of rod and reel commercial guys that are getting them, but they're getting them per individually per
rod and reel.
just rod and reel.
Right.
So the commercial guys are there, and there's as Craig pointed out, you got to look at the impacts from both sides, recreational and commercial.
It's a difficult job.
Yeah,
and that's kind of go ahead.
Well, the gillnet guys have been severely restricted over time. And so just a couple months ago, we had a regulatory package before the Fish and Game Commission, and we added a soak limit to them, some gear marking requirements. We're going to be doing some better data collection. So we're working real closely with that sector as well, and there's really only a handful of them left.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, let's jump into the phones, Corey.
Let's do it. How about Mo? Mo calling from Vista. Good morning. Appreciate you joining us on Let's Talk Hookup, Mo.
Yeah, good morning, guys. The question was, when you come back from Mexico fishing the bay side, what regulations or what do we need to bring the fish back home? Is there any?
Say that again, Mo, as far as bringing fish back?
Okay, you fish down Bahia de Los Angeles.
Okay.
You're bringing your yellowtail back.
Yes.
Is there a restriction or anything? You need to fill paperwork?
Approaching the border, what
by vehicle?
Yeah, by vehicle.
Yeah,
what would be the proper?
Pretty much the same rules. You can't bring anything that's expressly prohibited in California. You have to have your importation for declaration at or immediately prior to the time of entry, and you need to make sure that the fish were taken legally while you were down there. So same rules apply as vehicle by boat.
Yeah, and if you take rockfish, the skin has to be on.
Yes, I mean if you're not bringing them back whole and you're coming back fillets, if they're filleted, the full skin has to be on the rockfish.
Yeah, all right. Good stuff.
A lot to remember.
Great. I mean, this is a complicated job you have, Eric. There's a lot going on.
It's so awesome that he's joining us.
Yes.
Like we said, he doesn't have to, but he's doing it as a public service.
Yeah, for sure. Now, thanks, Mo. You have a great text, huh?
I do. I have one here. It says, good morning, guys. Very informative show. What interactive map app could you recommend to keep us sure that we are fishing in the right places with all the regulation changes? And thank you. That's from Kenny in San Diego.
Good question.
It is.
I'll let Craig talk about our mobile fishing regs map.
Yeah,
so if you do a search for CDFW ocean fishing, that should get you to the right spot. Or also wildlife.ca.gov/fishing/ocean. That takes you to our sport fishing page where we've got a static map. You can look at different parts of the state and see what's open, what's closed. And then there's links to our ocean sport fishing map. which will that's a website that you can access on your mobile device. It's got geolocation. You can turn on the GPS function. It'll show you where you are. Then you click on that, and it'll tell you what's happening. As I said, the only downside of that tool right now is you have to be in cell service range. So, like when I'm out fishing on the backside of Santa Rosa Island, I'm not getting cell service out there, so I got to remember what we're doing to make sure my buddies are staying compliant.
So there's also that's not the same app as Fish Legal, right?
No, Fish Legal is a separate third-party app.
Okay.
That hopefully, presumably, shares the same information. We can't vouch for it. We don't check it to make sure it's updated when we make changes. But I've heard pretty good things about that and some of the other products that are out there.
Yeah, I've used that, and it actually shows you when you're in cell range the actual location of where you are in relationship to the MPA
Exactly. Yeah, the MPAs are the other piece.
Yeah, for sure. All right, very good.
All right.
Good question.
It is a really good question. We're going to be right back on Let's Talk Hookup. More from Eric Cord, Ken Franke, and Craig Shuman when we return. And we're going to have the fish reports coming up, too, when we return on the Let's Talk Hookup app and the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Hey everyone, James Holst here with Norsk Lithium, the official battery partner of Let's Talk Hookup. Here at Norsk Lithium, we have two goals that drive who we are and what we do. The first is to make the highest quality, longest lasting lithium batteries available with a complete lineup of batteries that include 12, 24, 36 volt, and starting batteries. Second, in addition to offering a 10-year warranty on all Norsk Lithium marine batteries, we provide amazing customer service before and after the sale. Check us out online at norsklithium.com. That's NORSK lithium.com, or call us at 831-232-9063. Or to see Norsk Lithium batteries in person, stop by the Trolling Motor Doctor in Lakewood or Anglers Marine in Anaheim and see why Norsk Lithium batteries should be in your boat.
No matter where the adventure takes you, we've got you powered. Norsk Lithium.
Great fishing is what Seaforth Sports Fishing in Mission Bay is all about. With free parking and fully stocked tackle shop, Seaforth Sport Fishing is a favorite among anglers. Come aboard top boats like the Aztec, Cortez, Endeavor, Apollo, Outer Limits, Elgato Doe, Pride, Polaris Supreme, Tribute, Pacifica, Pacific Voyager, and the Voyager. Plus, the new Seaforth, Sea-Watch, and San Diego offer the finest half and full day trips available. Seaforth Sport Fishing. For charters or schedule, check seaforthlanding.com. Run by fishermen, for fishermen in Mission Bay.
This is Captain Tim Ekstrom from the long-range vessel Royal Star. With my partners Randy Toussaint and Brian Sims, we have set the bar for the long-range fishing experience. Spring 8-day, summer 5-day, or fly-down, fly-back 11-day winter trip, we deliver the highest quality long-range voyage you will find. From our premium RSW fish storage to our top-of-the-line chefs and crew, Royal Star distinguishes itself from all others. Want to grab a spot on the Royal Star? Check us out at RoyalStarSportFishing.com or call Tracy at 619-224-4764.
Captain Jamie Tennis from Season Sport Fishing here. For the past few seasons, a dart-styled metal jig has come into play in a big way for tuna offshore or even rockfish down deep. AFTCO's crossbreed jig has quickly become the go-to for many since it came onto the market. AFTCO's crossbreed jig is good to go right out of the package with a 4X treble hook, heavy-duty split rings, West Coast colors, and sizes 60 gram to 120 gram. Pick one up today at your local tackle store or learn more on AFTCO.com.
Inside information is everything when it comes to catching fish in Southern California. You need a code group to connect with what's happening on the water. FishDope.com is your code group. Inside information available at your fingertips 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. FishDope.com really does help you catch more fish and burn less fuel. FishDope.com is the only fish finding service with a spotter plane, along with a crew of top anglers on the water almost every day that report actual locations and catches. They become your code group. You get daily catch reports from Point Conception to San Catine, 365 days a year. FishDope.com has online planning tools, temperature and chlorophyll charts, hot bite icons, and more. Take it from me, if you don't have FishDope.com, you're not part of the in-the-know crowd. Membership is affordable and good for an entire year. Plus, use the special code and save $30 on a new FishDope.com membership. Check it out today. FishDope.com. Catch more fish, burn less fuel.